Hey, everybody, welcome to NTWC Plus. We are glad to have you along. The date is the 8th of July. We're now, 5 weeks in to the hurricane season, 5.5 weeks. And fortunately, the Atlantic is staying quiet. We'll talk more about that in just a little while. Our guest today will meet in just a moment. John Gordon is going to join us. I think that's going to be a fascinating conversation. John's got a lot of cool things to say, so we'll get to that. But before, let's just thank our sponsors who make this program a reality every single week. USAA has been a part of what we do at the National Tropical Weather Conference for a long time and things we do at the Storm Science Network, and we appreciate USAA for all you do. The South Padre Island Convention and Visitors Bureau, that's where we do the National Tropical Weather Conference every day at South Padre Island, Texas. We invite you to join us in April. We'll be back there April of 2027. This year we'll be at the Hilton Garden Inn on South Padre Island. I hope you can join us for that. Live View, they make our broadcast possible back to everybody's home market when broadcast meteorologists are broadcasting live from South Padre. That's coming through Live View. And finally, the Texas Weather Network, the newest members of our club, and we welcome them to the fun thanks to the Texas Weather Network. Bill Reed, former director of the National Hurricane Center. Looks like you're sitting somewhere where there's not a hurricane right now. Bill, we always start this conversation with, what's your dew point? Mine's 76.
It's a little more humid than last week. The dew point was in the teens. This morning, it's in the 30s.
Clearly not in League City.
Yeah, it was fun watching. I'm up for everybody's. This is not New Mexico. It's just a background that is more appropriate than the wall with stuff we're loading up for back. But anyway, we've been having dry thunderstorms with the lightning. That's something we never see in Texas, and the wildfires are crazy dangerous this year because they had no snowpack and everything's toasty dry. But the TV guys are really. Apparently the audience is really savvy about this because they use fairly technical terms to describe the virga and the combination of the dry lightning and the potential for microbursts and the like, especially up in the mountains where these few afternoons that we go. But that's it's head back to the swamp starting pretty shortly after this show.
Dew point's back in the 70s, and the Saharan dust will be there when you get there. Virga, that's a word I can't use on television in South Texas because of the translation to Spanish. We just don't use that word here. So, all right, Bill, take it away.
Well, okay, everybody, we've got a great show. I'm very happy to have on board with us today Mr. John Gordon. He had a long career with the National Weather Service, finishing up 21 years as the MIC in Louisville. When I was in headquarters, and we were doing the modernization, I had pegged Louisville as one of my top choices. I like the atmosphere, the vibe, if you will, there. I'd been there a couple times for meetings, but the guy that was there was about my age, so I knew exactly what my chances of ever going there was and went elsewhere. But John, like so many others of my friends in the Weather Service, retired a little over a year ago, and I know you're doing some of the same stuff we're doing today with James Spann, which is always cool. You're perfect for that job. But tell us about what you're doing nowadays. I know there's some scientific stuff you want us to talk about.
Yeah, thanks, Bill, and thank you all for having me. And I'm glad USA is a sponsor because I've been a USA member since 1986. That's how old I am. So weather's great, and I unexpectedly left last year, and I got a TV gig within 1 month. That came out of nowhere. I was outside in my yard gardening. Next thing you know, I'm the extreme weather specialist on WHAS. I love that title. So I do the weather brains too. I'm the guest booker, assistant guest booker now, which I really like. And you'll laugh at this, Bill. Always look for an angle. I know you do the cruise boat stuff. I really wanted to get a Canadian work permit. And one of the ways you can get a Canadian work permit is to work for them so I can buy property up there when my dew point is 76 degrees, and I don't like that. I would rather be in St. John's, Newfoundland in a little cottage right now, quite honestly.
It's a cool place. I'm sure you've been to St. John's.
I have.
A few times chasing the wet winds. Forgot to mention that both John and I have a thing in common besides MICs at weather offices. We both flew hurricanes, and John was with the Air Force, and myself with the Navy. And by the way, USA is my provider too since 1972.
Hey,
Yeah, we're aging ourselves, Bill.
you guys must be old.
So how often do you go on TV?
Yeah, the deal was this. I don't want to be the chief. I don't want titles. I don't want your job. I will go in when it's bad. I know when it's bad. And if I don't know when it's bad, you should fire me. So I go in, I do radar and weather analysis. I know, Bill and I know what the Weather Service typically is going to do. What's the next chess move? What's the next warning that's coming out? I'll even say, you're going to be under warning in 5 minutes. Get to your shelter now. Believe me, it's coming. So I went in for this, we had Sleet-a-Mageddon, Bill. We had, 2 inches of sleet. And so I was in there. They put me up at a hotel downtown. I like it. And I leave. I'm done. Remember at the Weather Service, you're never done, Bill. It's an endless saga of never leaving.
No, and especially true after a major event like a big flood or a hurricane. That the work leading up to it is adrenaline pump in a few days. The work afterwards, it could be months.
Yeah, we're busy before, during, and after can go on. December 10, 11, 21 tornado outbreak, the one Mayfield. Nobody knows about Bowling Green, Kentucky, sadly, the Corvette, where they make all the Corvettes. They were hit by 3, 2 EF3s and 1 EF2. That is never talked about. I lost 17 people on my watch, and I did the surveys. I stayed down there for about 9 days. It was unbelievable. I don't ever want to do that again.
No, those are no fun. Once you get them out of your system, you don't want to do them again. And well, it sounds great. Glad you're doing that. But yeah, you picked my brain about an idea about some of the peripheral hazards in the aftermath of hurricanes and other storms that maybe don't get the kind of study and publicity they should. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. It all started, and thanks, Bill. I really appreciate this invite. It all started, this lady, the band teacher in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, was driving after school. She was the most popular teacher. Her name's Kelsey Dunn. She was just driving home to see her folks. Hit a patch of water on the highway, gully washer. She was going 53 miles an hour in a 65, went across the median, was hit by a semi and died. I told my guys, we got to do something. And they gave me grief. I said, we got to put out some special weather statements for highways. But the reality is, Bill, you could hydroplane anywhere, right? Anywhere. How many of you on this show have hydroplaned, right? We've all hydroplaned. So I want to do something about this. So we started a campaign to try to get education and get the word out. We came up with a little slogan, wet lanes don't hydroplane. In addition to what you said, Bill, all of us are trying to save people's lives. I mean, we lose people every time there's a winter storm here with people grilling in their house, in their garage, after hurricanes. There are people dying along the Gulf Coast who don't understand ventilation. Power lines, down power lines it's a nightmare. I don't understand why would anyone I don't want anything to do with a power line. Nothing. Zero.
No, exactly right. So it sounds like that, like the hydroplaning thing, what we're doing with the basically it's a carbon monoxide issue with grilling and generators in the garage, getting the carbon monoxide sucked back in the house. In fact, we had a speaker on that just last week. But I noticed the Weather Service and the media have done an excellent job of really ramping up those explanations and their key messages when a storm approaches, and especially as the aftermath kicks in, they keep bringing that home, and hopefully that'll make a dent. But on the hydroplaning, it's just like you said, it's how do you make what can people do on that really that's different than they're doing already?
Yeah, okay. That's the thing. In Texas, right? They started with turn around, don't drown. And then in Key West, they had break the grip of the rip, right? Thunder roars, go indoors. I want to try to get this mainstream because everyone thinks it's just speed. Certainly speed has to do with hydroplane. There's no question. But it's all about tires. In fact, the Weather Service, I've been trying to get them to take this campaign. They claim it's the Federal Highway Transportation people. The transportation people says it's the Weather Service. It's like a ping pong match, Bill, where I'm not getting anywhere in the ping pong match playing Forrest Gump. So I'm trying to get them to wake up. What can they do? You got to slow down first, but it's all about tire pressure. It's about good treads, having better treads on your vehicle. You don't buy cheap toilet paper. You don't buy cheap shoes. You need to have good tires, and you need to have inflated tires to the proper measurement. When I was a kid, right, Bill, they would always check your tires and your windshield wipers. I don't think most people pay attention to their tires. Oh, I have a tire. It's good. Let's go.
Yeah, probably right there. But those are good points. But back to your original thing about the ping pong match, at some point you need to say, it's both of you guys.
Exactly. So I talked to Mike Coyne. He's the new future readiness guy for the Weather Service. He's hopefully going to help move this along. I will tell you this, I got a partner. I got the Kentucky Department of Transportation is starting to use our graphics, our logo, the information to get the word out about wet lanes, don't hydroplane, avoid sharp turning, slow down, have better traction, and putting this out on the web. Tennessee's interested, Indiana's interested, Ohio. I believe, unfortunately, it's going to be a grassroots movement, and I'm glad to have this on the show because I'm going to keep pushing this. This poor lady was 31 years old, and I just don't accept, that this crap happens. I don't accept that at all, Bill.
Oh, when you describe it, that there's some similarities there as to driving on ice and snow.
Same thing.
Same thing. The tires are important.
Yeah, I mean, if you're overinflated, you're going to have a problem with the contact at the base. If you're underinflated, you get it on the entire part of the tire on the water, and you're going to lose control even faster. So if listening to this great podcast, if you would buy better tires, inflate your tires properly, and if you happen to encounter hydroplaning, slow down. You got some of the slides up there, I see. Slow down and, ease off the accelerator. Don't slam on the brakes and gently turn into the skid. If you turn into the skid and slow down, you're probably going to straighten up before you hit something that will not be good.
Yeah, I would guess that there's quite a number of affordable tires now that are specifically advertised as being good tread for wet roadways and icy roadways.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, in fact, there's more material on Bridgestone's website than there is in the weather community about hydroplaning. And there are some really affordable, people who buy those big, Costco and BJ's and Sam's, you can save a lot of money and get a decent set of tires because, water affects this entire country. Right? You said on Weather Brains, Bill, which made me really laugh. I was the severe weather program leader, but water has been chasing me for 60 years. And it's true. Water is always going to be the big problem. Yeah, you have a big tornado. Yeah, you have a blizzard. But water is always the number one uno problem. And even in hurricanes, it's always the number one thing.
Yeah, and there's that'd be a whole new show on there, a topic on where the problems are on that. Have you ever thought of approaching like a independent tire group that sells tires, like Discount Tire Nationwide, and see if they would want to become a part of the sponsorship of the program?
Yeah, we're hoping that if the two states take this cause, then we're going to the tire communities. I'm trying to get someone to show, hey, they're doing this, and then I'm going to try to bring in the tire companies. I'm going to submit an abstract to these tire convention next year. They may laugh at this and say, thank you very much, no, but maybe they will accept it.
Yeah, when you approach them, put it in there. This could be a selling point for buying tires that advertise better performance on wet roadways.
Yeah, that's what we want. And that's one thing. If you drive, you need tires, right? It's that simple. So we're trying to help them sell more tires and save more lives. I mean, that's what I've been trying to do. Bill and I are two peas from a pod. I mean, we want to save people's lives. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less, you know?
Yep. Yeah, you can't do much about the property. It's already there. You're not going to put a house up on a flatbed and move it to Oklahoma when a hurricane approaches. Doesn't happen.
Right. Yeah, the thing is, the one thing that gets a lot of visibility is the turnaround, don't drown, which honestly, I thought it was doing great in the 90s and early 2000s. It seems like people are making so many bad decisions driving through flooded waters. I mean, right? You guys all agree? It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
But the hydroplaning is just not a focus right now. The riptides weren't until someone took the thorn by the head and just said, hey, we're going to start doing something about it. And I'm trying to get the word out, like shows like this, to try to help save some people's lives, like Kelsey Dunn. I mean, 31 years old, just driving home. And there was only like one or two storms on the radar. One. And I mean, you just think, well, how did this happen? And she was going there she is, going way less than the speed. But if you don't have good traction and good threads, not good.
Wow. Yeah. Tim, you look like you've got a idea on your mind that'll useful, Mr. John.
Well, a lot of thoughts I want to go to. We need to take our mid-show break, but John, one of the things I was thinking about, we used to see signs on the road all the time that said just simply slow down on wet highway, slow down on wet road. I haven't seen one of those in a long time. I don't think I have. Now, maybe I've gotten so used to them I don't see them, but are they still out there anywhere?
A little bit, but they're not like they were. I agree with you. And that's why at least the state of Kentucky, I have a really good contact. She's the head of operations, Randy Feltner, over there in Frankfurt, and she's trying to I was on a call with 9 states. They were all waiting for someone to lead. Okay? Wow. It wasn't 9 people at once. I agree. It was, well, if you do it, I might do it.
Somebody's got to jump in and take over. Hey, let's take our
Isn't that classic?
Break. Yeah, it really is. Hey, let's take our mid-show break and thank the sponsors who are here each and every week. We appreciate all of them. USAA, the South Padre Island Convention and Visitors Bureau, Live View, and the Texas Weather Network, all folks who make these programs a reality. We appreciate it, and we're enjoying our conversation with John Gordon today. We'll get back to that in a second, but Phil, tell us what's happening in the tropics on this official beginning of the second week of July.
Okay, I'll put the share button up there and we'll get right into it. But first, as a reminder, you're viewing this well after when it was recorded. Don't use what I'm telling you for decision making on anything in the tropics, unless you're Josh Morgerman, and we'll talk about that in a second. I like this view that's on the cyclonicweather.com site there, where you get a Mercator view of the thing that works pretty good for looking at the tropics. And there's nothing to talk about in the Atlantic other than dry air and wind shear. Convection down in the Gulf is associated with an upper level low, nothing tropical in that nature, and it's not worth talking about. The Pacific is full of active convection, and as expected in a developing El Nino year. The big story in the tropics was Bavi. It was a super typhoon at 180 miles an hour when it rolled over the island of Rota in the Marianas several days ago. And it's huge. It takes even on this picture, you could see how big it fits in the packet in the West Pacific out there. It'd be a fun one to fly, John. Be a long flight too. Latest forecast from JTWC. The orange rings are the radius or the extent of the tropical storm force winds in their forecast. And you can see how many degrees of latitude that thing eats up. Morgerman is here in Taipei, and he's making a decision pretty soon, probably which island to take a bet on as to where Bavi will go. I forgot what this island chain here. It's not the Ryukyus, like I said the other day, but in any event, it's forecast to be there late in the day, Friday, or over there early in the day on Saturday as a Category 2 storm. It was a super typhoon, which is 130 knots or greater, and it is dipped slightly below that now, but still a formidable force, especially if you're trying to cross the Pacific in a boat. Everybody's happy with Google DeepMind, so here it is for the track forecast on that. It's been, I think, for at least since this time yesterday, it's been plus or minus 20 miles of where the mean of the path is in this thing now, which would have it in the middle island of that chain of islands east of Taiwan. As for here, there's nothing in the Atlantic the next 7 days from NHC. They're outlooking two areas in the Eastern Pacific, but actually the one is the Central Pacific. Our East Pacific one, it's not anything in the next few days, but the models are picking up on a development off of the coast of Mexico, and it's supposed to take its traditional path off the coast, west coast of North America, die over cold waters. This thing may actually develop briefly in the Central Pacific before becoming a Westpac concern going west, but it looks pretty robust in the models too. Weather Nerds also produces a global thing, and you can look at several different ensemble solutions for what might develop, and you can see the important areas of the Atlantic are devoid of even a hint on the Google DeepMind model of development. There's frontal trough, and occasionally they pick up on something in there, but out of all the members they're running, only a few show a tropical storm. Eastpac and Westpac are busy, and that's for the next week to 10 days. You want to go out 2 weeks and 3 weeks. I don't see any change in the dry, no chance in the Atlantic and the active Pacific. Tim, I'm going to pass it back to you because I know you had some more questions.
That's the way we like to see the tropical update, Bill, especially on the side. So thank you for that. That's a great update. John, I remember, I think it was 2004 when all the storms hit Florida. A friend of mine worked in Fort Myers at the time on television, and he was on the air just continuously, of course, during that season. And after one of the storms, he had some damage at his house, so he went home and he was got his chainsaw out. He was still wide awake from working so many hours, but he got his chainsaw out, started cutting branches, and one of them smacked him. He fell off the ladder. He was in the emergency room. And in the emergency room, the doctor said to him, I won't say his name, but he said, sir, 6 hours ago, I was watching you on television telling people to be careful after the storm. And here you are in the emergency room because of what happened. So whether it's a hurricane, a tornado, a derecho, or any kind of post-storm event, what are the things we need to look out for? Because this is a guy who just said, be careful. And then, bam, he's on the ground in the emergency room.
Yeah, that's a great comment, and unfortunate for your friend. I think people have got this get-home-itis, which means the storm's done, I got to do blank. I got to cut power trees. I've got to go to the store. Oh, the road's flooded. Oh, I can get there. I don't have power, but I have a grill. I think sometimes we have to take a quick step back and say, is it safe to do blank? Is it safe? And I've seen a lot of bad things with chainsaws after the storm, right, Bill? Just a lot of bad things. And I see people, I'm being very nice here, power lines and trees down are like a bad cocktail. There's nothing good that will come from that. Nothing. And people, I think it's the mindset, well, it's over. It's almost, you know what it's like, Tim? It's like when you have the big storm, you're at a baseball tournament, the storm's gone east. It's east. I see clear above. Let's play the game. That's why the 30-30 rule came into existence, to have people think, wait a minute, the danger is not done. I think we all have got to do a better job after the storm has passed, right? I think because whether it's chainsaws, grills, power lines, flooded roads. I mean, how many people, okay, I'm going to be nice again. After Katrina came ashore, it's over. And people go, like, it's over. Well, it wasn't over. The levees were about to burst.
Yeah. I mean, we're guilty of it on the TV side. The storm comes, as soon as that line of storms is through, okay, we're done, We're done. Now, I usually say now it's a news story. The after effect is a news story. It's not a weather story anymore, but it still is a weather story because there's still plenty going on long after the storm. We talked about carbon monoxide a while ago. We lose people every hurricane from that. The storm goes by, and then the stories come out, a couple days later, even the same day, but a day or two later too.
Yeah. Okay. So Bill knows this. The regional and national headquarters always want a list of fatalities and injuries. Remember that, Bill? They always want all that stuff. And often the number keeps going up days later because of the things you just mentioned.
Yeah,
we just had someone get electrocuted because of a down power line. We just had someone, drive through a flooded road 2 days later. Whatever it is, is that really part of the storm? I'm not a statistician for these things. I don't know that answer, but they seem to always lump them in, don't they, Bill?
Well, yeah, and I think it's not perfect, but by and large, I like the approach of direct versus indirect.
Yep.
Indirect means there's multiple. It's a factor, but not the only one. Whereas the storm surge wiping someone out, perhaps that should be multiple cause too. The storm surge was one, and the bad decision making about staying in a beach house was the other.
Tim, you know what it's like? Shoveling snow, okay?
Yep.
Shoveling snow 2 days later, indirect. I'm going to shovel snow. I have had 6 heart attacks and I have stents all over my heart. I'm going to go shovel snow. They drop dead. How did they really die? What does the coroner put down?
That's
right. Exactly.
Heart condition, right? The one thing we learned from that came out in the COVID was how useful comparing actual deaths to what was the average in an area for excess mortality. Especially for things like heat and cold, where exactly that there's underlying conditions that made that person prone to dying of that. But without the heat or the cold, they'd probably still be here today. And I think it's the same thing with the chainsaw accidents, power lines, hydroplaning, and all that. We're a factor, and I think it's good that the weather community is willing to address that. Now, I don't remember even that well. The bandwidth was part of a problem in the old days in the teletype. You couldn't type all the possibilities in anyway.
That's right. I'll say this really quick, Tim, is that to be classified, like heat is the numbers for heat deaths are wrong, okay? Whatever database you look at is wrong. You know why they're wrong? Because you need a coroner to label it as a heat death. Most counties in America do not have a full-time coroner.
True.
And if like a big city like Houston, they're overwhelmed. They can't check everything. Lance obviously published a pretty good case study after Beryl of the undercounting of the heat deaths from Beryl with the power out.
We're coming up on the end of the half hour already. This has gone way too fast. John, what thoughts do you want to leave us with? Because I know we didn't get to everything we wanted to talk about, so please share what it is you'd like to leave.
Thank you so much. Folks, if you encounter hydroplaning, slow down, ease into the skid, have ahead of time, have good tires, good tire traction, good tire pressure, wet lanes, don't hydroplane. I want you and your family to be safe. Just a few things you can do. You don't want to be like Kelsey Dunn's family who doesn't have her at Thanksgiving anymore.
A great message. Thank you for that. Bill, your thoughts to wrap the program today?
Yeah, I wish we could clone John and have 100 more people with the passion and enthusiasm for going after these seemingly intractable problems we have in the aftermath of storms.
We appreciate it. Great information today, John. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Glad to have you. Thank our sponsors who make it a possibility week in and week out. USAA, the South Padre Island Convention and Visitors Bureau, LiveView, and the Texas Weather Network. John Gordon, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate your message is important, and let us help you get that information out there. We appreciate it. Bill Reed, great job. And back in headquarters, Alex Garcia, thank you for a great job today as well. That's it for today. Next week, we have none other than Brian Norcross joining us to talk about communicating hurricanes without overhyping them. That is a challenge in itself. Thanks for talking to you next week.